So Rafael Fiziev versus Justin Gaethje has just been announced for UFC 286 in March, and I just thought I'd give an early breakdown and prediction of this fight. It's quite an interesting fight. Obviously, Rafael Fiziev is kind of taking that next step up at lightweight to the big dogs, and it's nice to see Gaethje fighting someone other than, that top five kind of constantly. He's going down a bit, giving someone else an opportunity to get up to the title, and a legitimate contender in Rafael Fiziev. So super impressed with Gaethje for taking this fight, because I think it is a tough fight for him. It's not an easy fight at all, and it's a risky fight because he's fighting down, but it's a fight that realistically needed to be taken, because we need these guys at lightweight to take risks and fight downwards. Otherwise you just get the same fights between the same guys over and over again. So it's a pretty interesting fight. Probably going to be a stand-up affair. Obviously, you have Rafael Fiziev, a really great Muay Thai practitioner, and Justin Gaethje, more of a boxer, but obviously he throws those leg kicks in. Now, this is a tough fight for both guys, but I'm going to put it out there early. I think at this point, now I could be swayed on this. I very much could be swayed on this, because as the fight approaches, I might change my mind. But at this point, I'm going with Rafael Fiziev. I think Fiziev is going to catch him at some point, basically. I think Gaethje's striking is really overrated in terms of technique. I don't think he's that technically great with his hands. He has a really nice left hook and a really nice rear right uppercut. Both of those strikes he throws are very nice, but really other than that, he doesn't do a whole lot technically well. You know what I mean? He doesn't throw a lot of jabs. His leg kicks, they're nice, they're very damaging, great leg kicks, but he throws them a lot of the time from boxing range, which historically has got him in trouble, got him rocked. It got him KO'd by Dustin Poirier. Poirier countered one of his leg kicks because Gaethje threw that leg kick from boxing range, and Poirier managed to knock him out with the left-hand counter. So I just think Gaethje takes a lot of risks. Even now, even the modern Gaethje, who did kind of dial it back a bit, he still takes a lot of risks. And I feel as though at some point, Fiziev will just catch him with something. Fiziev is such a clean striker. And I see a lot of people saying, well, Fiziev struggled against Bobby Green, you know what I mean? People still argue Bobby Green won that fight. For the record, I think Fiziev won that fight. It was competitive, but I think it was a clear win for Fiziev, ultimately. But people bring up that fight and act as if, oh, well, Fiziev had a tough time against Bobby Green, so how's he going to beat someone like Gaethje, who's up in the rankings? People consider Gaethje better than Bobby Green. And that's fair, right? But ultimately, the comparison isn't. I get that Gaethje is up the rankings. I get that you might consider him a better fighter, but Bobby Green is a very unique fighter to face. He has a very unique style, great wrestling defense, very good boxing, and weird head movement that's hard to get the timing of. And Fiziev overall, I think, did a really good job in that fight. I think he clearly won the fight. It was competitive, it was close, but I think he clearly won the fight 2-1. And I'm impressed the way he got past Bobby Green. You know, Bobby Green is a tricky opponent, very tricky opponent, and not like Gaethje. Gaethje is there to be hit. I think Fiziev will touch him. I think Fiziev will hit him. And I think Fiziev will ultimately be able to knock him out. Fiziev really impressed me by knocking out Rafael dos Anjos. I actually picked dos Anjos in that fight. I thought dos Anjos would be able to out-cardio him and out-grapple him later on in the fight. But Fiziev's cardio looked really good, looked improved. And the fact that he could knock out dos Anjos, who has a really underrated chin, only really been knocked out by Jeremy Stephens and got TKO'd by Eddie Alvarez earlier on. But that really impressed me. So I think he can do it to Gaethje. And I do see him hitting Gaethje with something. Most likely a counter, if I'm being honest. However, right, I think it is a very dangerous fight for Fiziev. Because I think Fiziev, he may get hit here, and Gaethje has big power. And obviously Fiziev's one loss in MMA was to Mustafayev, who caught him with it was a spinning wheel kick, but ultimately it was an explosive strike. The Fiziev, all the technicality in the world, he couldn't block it, and he couldn't survive it. And Gaethje is one of the most explosive guys at lightweight. So I do worry for that. I worry as the fight goes on a guy like Gaethje will just not let Fiziev rest, and I think if the fight's going on later, it's going to be a bit of trouble for Fiziev. But I think Justin Gaethje is going to get stopped in this fight. I think he just gets hit too much. He's just not technically all there. I'll just double check if this fight is going to be 3 rounds or 5, because that makes a pretty huge difference, if I'm being honest. So I'll just check on that. It's for UFC London, UFC 286. It's the co-main, so it'll be 3 rounds, which makes me favor Fiziev even more, because I think maybe in a 5-round fight, if Gaethje could survive, he could really wear down Fiziev's legs and body. But man, I don't know if he'd even survive to make it to those later rounds, the 4th and 5th, if it was a 5-round fight. I think Fiziev will be able to catch him, probably with a counter, probably some kind of counter, and be able to stop him. But, like I said, I could completely flip-flop on that and pick Gaethje. I have a weird feeling, not really based on logic, that Gaethje might actually be able to end the kind of hype of Fiziev and finish him. But at this point, I'm going with Fiziev. So that was just a little breakdown and just a quick little prediction for that fight, which has now been announced very recently. Either way, I will say before I go, I think it's going to be probably fight of the night, but I do see Fiziev stopping him. I'll give a more detailed prediction of, how I think he stops him and what round later on, closer to the fight. But at this stage, yeah, Fiziev by stoppage.